Super Bowl 59, baby. The Birds are in Super Bowl 59. Incredible. Truly is a remarkable journey that this team has brought us on. And where I want to start with today's show is with the head coach, Nick Sirianni. Because I truly feel that Nick Sirianni is going to outcoach Andy Reid. And I have many reasons why I feel this way, and I'm going to share with you multiple different reasons throughout the entire program. But number one on my list has to do with Nick Sirianni's competitive nature and the aggressiveness of it and how contagious it can be. We're watching Saquon Barkley right now explode week in and week out. Play one against the Commanders, it was known that the Commanders were going to try and stop the run. They couldn't. Because his desire and his will and his compete level, it's so high, nobody can stop him. There is a pissed off Nick Sirianni right now because when these teams met 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, Nick lost. And due to his competitive nature, I think it is extremely monstrous to the personality of this group. And just like Saquon brings it, just like Jalen brings it, just like Lane Johnson brings it, we have a head coach that brings it in a very unique way as well. And knowing that there is a revenge factor against Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce and that Chiefs team, there is something to the way that it's eating him alive that they failed last time. You get another crack at it. What are the odds? What are the chances that 2 years later you get to look across the field and see the same head coach that beat you your first trip to the bowl? And oh, by the way, that's a head coach that is a staple here in this town. And if Nick Sirianni can win, he becomes, in my eyes, the best coach in Philadelphia Eagles history. So knowing that is on the table for Nick Sirianni, I just don't know how his competitive drive that is super contagious with his locker room doesn't help him take that next stride to finally hoist the Lombardi. I don't see a way this team gets denied. And I want to make it clear that what Nick brings with his personality and with his I want to beat you attitude that he brings 24/7, it's the same as no one is tackling Saquon. I'm just telling you, no one is stopping 26 when he gets a full head of steam. No one is stopping A.J. Brown on one-on-one coverage on a 4th and 5. No one's stopping Jalen from winning football games. Take away the one game where he left early against Washington. I don't even remember the last time they lost. And I want you to know that Nick Sirianni, same thing. That it factor that Saquon says Jalen has, that it factor that Jalen says Saquon has, Nick has it too. And it starts with this drive, and it starts with the personality, and it carries a long, long way. I want you to listen to Nick Sirianni from earlier this season. This was when he was addressing the team during a team meeting, and just listen to the way that he inspires the squad. It's all about his competitive nature. It defines who this team is. Here's Nick addressing the team.
Right? We got really good players. We got a really good front office and GM, right? And with great talent, and with great coaches, and with great physicality, and with great detail, you can win a lot of games. You can win 10, 11, 12 games. But you can't do special unless we continue to come together as a football team. I ain't into winning 10, 11, 12 games. We've been done that here. We've done that there. I want to do special shit. And you can't do special shit alone.
This team feeds off that. They really do. You're going to allow Andy Reid to get 3 in a row? No way. No shot. And for this to be the team that already took you down, I'm telling you, number one on my list is Nick's competitive drive that's so contagious. just like the players won't be denied when they're on the football field, I don't think Nick is going to be denied. Nick Sirianni is going to outcoach Andy Reid and that coaching staff by having this team willing to fight, by having this team hungry, having them prepared, determined, and ready to go, where losing is not an option. Finishing the job is such a focus that, you can't even have more focus than the focus they're about to have. I'm listening to Nick talk about it on Tuesday that he's already reviewing notes from the last Super Bowl that he kept to see what he's going to change. I got to say, I'm admiring this part of Nick Sirianni, and I have a lot of belief in that specific skill set that he brings because it is game-changing and it's tone-setting, and I believe it's going to be the difference in why they're able to win. That hunger, that desire. It elevates you. They have a bond, a special relationship with this coach. And he has them jumping. He has them juiced. They believe in it, and they fight for this guy. And he's going to have them run out the tunnel and do the same damn thing that they've done against every single opponent to the Kansas City Chiefs in about a week and a half. 215-592-9494. Here's my question for you. Are you worried at all about Nick Sirianni versus Andy Reid? Because I'm not at all. Quite frankly, I think Sirianni's going to outcoach Andy. It comes down to so much pain, so many hours of sleep lost 2 years ago after that double-digit lead evaporated. And when you have guys that are wired this way, where they hate to lose probably more than they like winning, Nick falls into that category. He's got a unique personality, but at the end of the day, him losing, I feel, eats him up more than the high of winning. So, Andy, hate to break it to you, 3 straight, not happening. Not with Nick Sirianni leading the charge. I got a lot of faith in Nick, and I'm curious where you stand out there at 215-592-9494. Let's go to the phones. I'm curious how all of you feel out there about our head coach going up against an all-time great, right? I mean, Andy Reid, by the end of this, could be the best coach of all time. It could be that. But Nick Sirianni, guess what? Determined. Doug Peterson beat Bill Belichick. If that can happen, I think Nick Sirianni, with this roster, with this team, can have a massive victory against Andy Reid, even if he does become one of the greatest of all time. To the phones we go. Let's go to Mike. What's going on, Mike? You're on WIP.
What's going on, brother?
What's happening?
So I'm glad you bring up Nick Sirianni, right? Because I absolutely love the passion that he brings to Philadelphia, to the Eagles, and the attitude he brings to this team. But I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle on something we were talking about earlier. And I have a little bit of Jalen Hurts fatigue right now. And it's not because of the way he's playing on the field. I love this Eagles team. I love Sirianni. I love the personality that these players have. And I want to love Hurts. I respect him as a player. But every single time he gets in a press conference and after a huge win, his body language, his cryptic messages, like it just wears on you. And then you watch ESPN, and they should be talking about all the great things that the Eagles did to get to the Super Bowl, and they spend 20 minutes talking about, well, what did Jalen mean by taking the jacket off of him? And I'm just getting tired of like the narrative being about Jalen and like these cryptic messages and body language. And it's wearing me down a little bit when we should be nothing but positive and supporting Sirianni and everything else. And just wanted to get your thoughts. Yeah,
I mean, personally, Mike, I can't relate to that because he doesn't bother me at all. But with the we should be positive thing, if you're looking at ESPN, and I'm only bringing this up because you mentioned ESPN and the Talking Heads, they're not Eagles fans. So they're going to pick apart this from a whole different way. Their job's not to root on Nick Sirianni and root on Jalen Hurts because they don't have the emotional connection the same way. So here in town, I got to admit, I don't think there's been many hosts on these airwaves that have picked apart the straitjacket comment the same way it has been nationally, unless I've missed something.
Yeah, but it's not even just a straitjacket comment. Like, it's the body language.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what the body language means. I mean, he wins football games, and we're in a Super Bowl for 2 out of 3 years.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm a fan of him on the field, and that's where I guess I'm struggling.
So you're a fan of him on the field, and you don't like his press conferences.
I just feel like his personality, like, just kind of like wears on you when everybody should be celebrating. And, maybe it's just a personality thing that I'm struggling with.
Yeah, it seems that way, Mike, and I appreciate your call. I can't relate a lick. I can't even relate a little bit. I love Jalen. Jalen's a dog. Jalen wins. I love the way he carries himself. It's different. It's rare, but there's an it factor to it. Listen, I can't relate even a little bit to that.
Having Jalen Hurts fatigue the week after he plays arguably his best game as an Eagle is a strange time to have Jalen Hurts fatigue. He could have said anything he wanted to at the post-game presser, and I would have been like, cool, that's great. He could have wore an even shinier, an even better chain where the diamonds are dancing even more than the one he had a couple weeks ago, and I would have put on sunglasses because I was going to get blinded by it. I don't care. He played the game of his life, and he's going to, again, the game of his life. I have no Jalen Hurts fatigue right now. If anything, my confidence in Jalen Hurts it could be at an all-time high right now.
I think it's because people are jealous of his swag.
Gotta be it.
I'm being honest.
His swag too different.
Agreed.
He gets too much money.
All jokes aside, the way he dresses, the way he's got that Jordan brand, the way he walks into the arena or the
Jordan
stadium.
Cleats are sick.
I think
They're
people.
awesome.
I think people just have a very difficult time seeing how cool he is, and
all the suits that he's wearing to the games are perfect, tailored just perfectly. Whoever does that out there, just a great job. I think it's a Damari company, just a fantastic job by them.
That's the only thing I can come up with. All right, let's get back to the head coach angle here. Let's go to Lee in Middletown. What's up, Lee?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up?
You know what? About that last caller, all I can say is one of the greatest fighters of all time, Muhammad Ali, did the exact same thing. Hey, it's the late round of the playoffs. Let's give them what they got. They just keep playing better and better and better and better. Like, Nick Sirianni lulled y'all to sleep at the beginning of these playoffs till the end of the season, and now it's just, you know what? Let's do it.
I'm with you, dude. Now's
like
the time.
12.
Now's the time.
Yeah, it's like round 12 now. Ding, ding. You're going to get everything.
Now, Lee, let me ask you, do you have faith that Nick Sirianni can outcoach Andy Reid?
Absolutely. He's been doing it all. Yes, absolutely, this year. I want to assume that he learned a hell of a lot that last Super Bowl.
Well, I think that I don't think it's just an assumption, Lee, and thank you for the call. He expanded on that pretty recently throughout his media availability, where he said he was staring at the notes and he was looking at how he was going to do things differently. And I guess maybe I can dive into a little bit of my next thought here on why I feel so confident in Nick Sirianni outcoaching Andy Reid, and that is his willingness to adapt. And it's the fact that he's not stubborn. And I just watched in an NFC Championship game, Nick Sirianni on 4th and 5 go for it right before half, which changed the entire game. Because when the Commanders scored last, it was 14-12. They went for that 2-point conversion and failed. So it was a 2-point game. The Eagles had to lead. The Eagles were also getting the football after half as well. So on 4th and 5, you have an electric play with A.J. Brown on the left side of the sideline there. Jalen with an absolute dot, and you force the fumble on the special teams with the kickoff right after the touchdown. The next time the Commanders touched the football, they were down by double digits after it was just a 2-point game. So my point is, when you reflect back to the Super Bowl 57 decision made by Nick Sirianni, when it was the fourth quarter, less than 11 minutes to go, and the Eagles were down by 1, and it was 4th and 3 on the Eagles 32, Nick Sirianni punted, and Tony took it back to the goal line, and within seconds, Pat Mahomes scored a touchdown, and it was a huge momentum shift. It was a monster swing in the game, and I feel if Nick is going back to look at the notes, bang, right there. That's getting highlighted. That's getting emphasized. That's stressed. Because that was a crucial decision that I thought Nick screwed up on. And his willingness to adapt and not be stubborn and to see how he can change, what he can do differently, how we can put this team in a better position. And then 3 days ago, I just witnessed him do it with a Super Bowl berth on the line with the aggressiveness and staying active offensively and trusting your guys and seeing a favorable matchup with AJ and letting Jalen throw the rock, which isn't this team's identity for majority of the season. That's a big-time call by Nick Sirianni, and they executed it perfectly. If he's willing to do that in an NFC Championship game, I bet you he's willing to do that in the Super Bowl. And last Super Bowl, he did it in the fourth quarter. He's got to be willing to this year. So did he learn, Lee? Yeah, I think he did learn. I think he knows that there's things he needs to tweak this go-around compared to the last go-around because, well, you keep your offense on the field, you keep Pat Mahomes off the field, which is a big one. Well, you're going to see. You're going to see a different outcome. All right, let's go to Carl in Maple Shade. What's up, Carl?
Brodes, thanks you brought me in, man.
Of course. Thanks for calling.
Now, I'm on the opposite side of the body language, and I've talked to you a couple of times since. But do you remember the phone call we had after the Giants game? And I said, Brodes, did you see what I saw on Jalen's eyes?
I kind of remember and I kind of forget. So walk me through it again.
Well, I had said to you, I seen the eyes of 22 in Jalen. Now I picked up on something where I saw like I got this now, and that was kind of the conversation we had.
Yes,
like at that point.
Yep.
And people are picking up on body language in press conferences. I'm picking up on body language in the game time. This kid is in gear. He's got the right people behind him. And if Andy Reid thinks he's stopping us this time, he's got another thing coming.
And Spags has been doing an amazing job as a DC, but I just don't think this team's going to be denied. When you're in the Super Bowl, you're always facing great talent. When we won it last time, you're facing Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. So you're always matched up against someone who's great too. The difference is, I don't think this team's going to get denied, and that's because of Nick's competitive drive that's contagious.
Well, there's a couple things I'd like to talk about with previous callers that mentioned things. Spagnuolo looked like he was flustered to me in that game. He didn't look like the same Spagnuolo.
Against the Bills?
He looked like he was struggling for answers in that game.
Against the Bills or the last time we played?
Against the Bills.
Well, he did have that unique blitz there at the end to secure it.
Yeah, because Mahomes has this technique for backpedaling out of the shotgun, getting the defense to come so far up the field that they're taking themselves out of the play. How do you think that Kelsey is wide open? How many times do we say, how is he getting wide open? They have a knack. They did it to Buffalo. They did it to San Francisco in the Super Bowl. Mahomes will intentionally backpedal out of the shotgun, get the defensive line to come so far up the field that they're basically taking themselves out of the play, and you're not going to get to them. Then he dumps off to Worthy. You know, Worthy's 165 pounds. He's not coming across the middle. They're looking for their spots with him.
Yeah.
He's not going to hurt you.
Well, who? Worthy's not?
He can.
Oh, he can.
Oh, he can.
Yeah, he definitely can. I'm sorry, Carl. I didn't know if you had more. But listen, I don't know if I necessarily agree with I think Spags is a machine. I think Spags is an incredible defensive coordinator, and he's super sharp. And the fact that it's him and Andy Reid as a duo, He seems to have the answers 99.9% of the time. I'm just saying that this time's going to be different because I value the way that Nick is. I value his personality traits, and I think that is so systemic in a good way. I'm saying that bleeds into everybody in this locker room, everybody in the NovaCare complex. Howie Roseman as well has that same fire. He's above Nick. Lori has that same fire. And there's just something to me about the nature of losing 2 years ago, and now you get a chance to face off against that same exact team who's going for a three-peat. We already watched the Eagles take down a dynasty before, and now, not that that plays as much of a role because this is a whole new, fresh set of coaches and whatnot, but the desire and the want to, the will, the hunger, the determination, it just seems to be more right now into the looking back, as frustrated as Nick was for the entire week after they lost, and knowing what that offseason was like, and knowing how difficult it is to get back to the Super Bowl as quickly after you fail. It's not normal to start off the following season 10-1, then have the embarrassing collapse. The next season start out 2-2, have an early bye week 5, and then rattle off all these wins in a row until you lose your quarterback to a concussion 11 snaps in. Outside of that, all you do is win, essentially, and now you're back in the bowl. The hunger is real, and the competitive drive is no joke. And it is the same as Lane Johnson's mentality. It's the same as Saquon's determination. And because of that, I think there's just a different sense of urgency that's locked in with this Eagles unit, where the Chiefs are going for history. And yeah, they're hungry too, of course. But I'm telling you, when you have the taste of it, you do it a couple of times in a row, just organically and naturally as human beings with emotions, one side of this definitely has more juice and a different view on it than the other. And I really love where the Eagles are at drive-wise because of Nick Sirianni. And I'm curious if you feel Nick Sirianni can out-coach Andy Reid, and if you're worried about Nick Sirianni at all heading into this matchup at 215-592-9494. Now, I did dig back into the archives for this one. It's a little goofy, a little funny. I remember hearing this for the first time and going, what? This is our head coach. So it's silly. It's tongue-in-cheek a little bit. But the truth is, I admire his competitive drive. And I'm not going to shut up about it until the game's over. And then after we win and we celebrate, I'll talk about why that was the reason we won for the entire offseason. So I am really sticking to this. I believe in it to my core. Here's Nick Sirianni, though. During this time, it was COVID, and there were a lot of Zoom meetings with players, and the organization was talking about how they were able to talk to these potential drafted players about their competitive nature. Here's Nick Sirianni on that.
I'll tell you, I think some of you guys are wondering, like, what game? We didn't go earth-shattering on these games, right? I played a couple of them at rock, paper, scissors, right? That was as easy as that. Rock, paper, scissors. Let's see how competitive you are. I'm competitive. I'm going to be talking trash to him. Did you talk trash back to me? Right? Jeopardy. There's different ways to do it. It looks a lot of different ways. But our coaches got so creative with this. Like Jeff Stoutland, Brian Johnson. Like they did just such – Aaron Moorhead. They all did a great job, right? Tracy Rocker, Jeremiah Washburn. They all did a great job of just figuring out how to compete. Because everyone's compete looks a little different. Like if I get up there, I play them rock, paper, scissors. They got a little more creative than I did at times. So it was awesome, though, because it did anything you compete at. When you compete with somebody that's competitive, they're going to go at you no matter what game you're playing. Leslie, you can play rock, paper, scissors when we get in person together.
All right. That would be great.
All right, goofy, I get it. But take away the goofiness of it, and it's raw. It's authentic.
That was in his first couple months of being the coach, too.
Well, the first press conference wasn't great either.
No, we don't got to remember that one.
But there is truth to what he's saying there when you remove the weirdness of it, the authenticity of it now at this point. He's been here long enough. The locker room has soaked it in. The organization has soaked it in. And I believe that's a monster difference maker in this matchup with Andy Reid. And I'm curious where you are. 215-592-9494. 9494. That's the phone number to hop on board. So I would really love to hear from you. Coming up next, why winning Super Bowl 59 is more important than you even think. It's Brodes, it's you on 94 WIP. So I want to know from you at 215-592-9494 if you trust Nick Sirianni against Andy Reid. And before we get back to the phones, why winning Super Bowl 59 is more important than you even think? It really does change the greatest coach of all time here in Philadelphia. If Nick Sirianni wins this Super Bowl, he is the greatest head coach in Eagles history. He would be in the Super Bowl twice. He'd have a Super Bowl championship, taking down Andy Reid and a squad that is in the purest form of their dynasty. Doug Peterson obviously won one, but then it evaporated very quickly. Andy Reid, constant NFC championship games, a lot of heartbreak, got to the big dance, didn't win. The longevity's real, but Nick Sirianni to have the winning percentage, and I would expect the winning percentage to continue and stay for a while as well, and you have 2 Super Bowl appearances in 3 years, with one of them hypothetically being a victory. This is so massive. It changes who the greatest Eagles coach of all time is. And that also plays a role into Nick Sirianni's competitive nature. This isn't the Jags, okay? This isn't being the best coach on a list of coaches who coached, I don't know, give me some crappy-ass organization.
Jets.
Sure. I mean, they're in New York, though. But, yeah, I get your point. They're an embarrassment. No, I know. But I'm just saying, like, there are some organizations that don't even have value in the NFL. You're not number one on that. You're number one with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's a big deal. And if you don't think there's insane amount of desire to get that, you're a fool, because that's what Nick Sirianni, that's what he strives for. It really is something special, that personality trait of Sirianni, and it's going to be the difference in this matchup.